The other day, I drove my friend's 2000 Acura Integra Type R. I wanted to share a few thoughts, starting with how little gets said about these cars. It's amazing because I hear so much about just about every other iconic 80s and 90s car that's out there. E30 M3s, Mercedes Benz 2.3 16s. Uh, I know those are 80s cars, 90s cars, Supras, RX-7s, E36 M3s, Porsche 968. Even the VW Corrado gets airtime, but I really just don't hear about the Integra Type R. And I think that is shameful because enthusiasts are missing out on one of the best, not just 90s cars ever made, but one of the best cars ever made, period. And I say that with a straight face, having never driven one, having driven a lot of different kinds of cars, supercars included. The Integra Type R really stands out as something formidable and something special. And I think it starts with the drivetrain that Honda engineered for that car. The B18C is a masterpiece of an engine. It's not that torquey. Yeah, it only has 130 pound-feet of torque. But in normal driving, where I thought it would just fall flat on its face at around town speeds, it's actually quite tractable. The motor picks up and goes from as little as 2 grand. And if you want to drive it like a normal human being at normal RPMs, you can do that. It doesn't go fast, but it's more than happy to just pediddle around town at low speeds all day long. But it comes on cam at like 6 grand. I know it sounds cliche. I'm going to say it. The VTEC kicks in, and from 6 grand to 9,000 RPM, that motor not only pulls like a freight train, it sounds spectacular. Like it's a full on race motor. It's engaging, it's visceral, it just feels every bit of a low volume homologation car. Even though it wasn't homologated, it just feels that way when you drive it because that engine is so special, and it's paired up with a really nice Honda 5-speed gearbox that Honda became famous for over the years. So, and the other thing I hear a lot about is that, oh, it's front wheel drive and it doesn't have the race pedigree and the handling finesse that something like an E30 M3 or Porsche 968 or E36 M3 would have. And I think that's just absolute malarkey, having driven the car now. First off, the car weighs 2,400 pounds, and it is it's nimble. It's everything that you think a 2,400 pound car would be going through a corner. But the surprising part is it actually does allow you to pivot the rear end when you lift off the throttle going through a corner. So you have that kind of mid throttle or mid corner adjustability that you wouldn't expect to have in a front wheel drive car, similar to something like a Peugeot 205 or Peugeot 405, which were also engineering masterpieces in the handling and steering department. And both of those were front wheel drive cars. But the other thing that, I think should not be overlooked, and it's a critical part of any classic car ownership experience, is the maintainability of something like the Integra Type R. There's a huge support network out there for the B18C. And yeah, certain parts like shock absorbers are pretty much NLA right now. But for the most part, it's an easy car to maintain. Running costs are low. Just about anybody can work on it. So, why would you put yourself through the torture of trying to own something that has limited parts support, limited you know mechanic support if you can't wrench on the car yourself, when you can own something like an Integra Type R. Now, there weren't a whole lot of ITRs made for the US market. It's something like 3,800 and something cars actually came here. And I want to talk about that because there is actually less Integra Type Rs for the US than there were E30 M3s. Crazy, right? Look at the valuation of E30 M3s, and then you look at the valuation of an Integra Type R. We're not exactly comparing apples to apples, but there is a lot of similarities in how these two cars drive, starting with just the rawness of the whole experience. It just absolutely begs you to bang red line shifts through every gear, to toss it as hard as you can into a corner, and just to eke out that extra little bit of speed into a braking zone, or it just absolutely eggs you on to do bad things all the time. And isn't that what makes a car fun? It's just being able to feel like you're going really fast when you're not. The Integra Type R, it's not a really fast car, but you always feel like you're going at least 5 times faster than you actually think you are, all the time. So we look at values. Nice low mile, let's say less than 100,000 mile ITRs are fetching anywhere between $40,000 and $50,000. They're getting super hard to find, stock, not crashed, not modified to the point of not being able to return back to stock. So I think what we're seeing right now is probably just the beginning of where these cars will go in the future. And you look at, $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 E30 M3s, and I think that's where the Integra Type R will go once it gets the recognition that it deserves. Again, first one I drove, and I'm ashamed to say this, I didn't pay it much attention until I drove it. And I think if it's not on your radar, it should be. This is a car that should grab your attention. Go look at it. Go drive one if you can. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. It is that good. So I hope you enjoyed the driving footage. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Keep subscribing. Keep watching. See you for the next one.